Sarah is 28 years old. Her friends think she's crazy. Every weekend she's watching the goriest, most terrifying horror movies she can find, alone, at night, in the dark. Her boyfriend asks, "Why do you enjoy being scared? What's wrong with you?" Nothing's wrong with her. Her brain just works differently. Stay with me, because if you love horror movies, you're about to understand yourself better. And if you hate them, you're about to understand why some people genuinely enjoy what terrifies you. Let's start with the most important psychological truth. Horror fans aren't seeking fear. They're seeking control over fear. Sarah's brain experiences real fear watching horror movies. Her heart races, her palms sweat. Her amygdala, the fear center, activates just like it would facing real danger. But here's the key difference. Her rational brain knows she's safe. She's on her couch. Nothing can actually hurt her. The threat isn't real. This creates what psychologists call safe fear or recreational fear. Her brain gets to practice the fear response without actual danger. It's like a fire drill for her nervous system. And why does this feel good? Because her brain releases a cocktail of chemicals during the experience. Adrenaline, dopamine, endorphins, the same chemicals released during a roller coaster ride or extreme sports. Her brain associates horror movies with this chemical rush, so she keeps coming back for it. But here's the deeper psychology. Horror fans have higher tolerance for anxiety and uncertainty than people who hate horror. Sarah's brain can sit with uncomfortable feelings without needing to escape immediately. The tension, the suspense, the not knowing, her brain tolerates this better than average. Psychologists have found that people who enjoy horror tend to score higher on something called sensation seeking. Their brains need more stimulation to feel engaged. Everyday life feels boring, so they seek out intense experiences. Horror provides that intensity. It jolts their nervous system awake, makes them feel alive and present in a way normal activities don't. This isn't about being disturbed. It's about having a nervous system that requires more input to feel satisfied. Now let's talk about control, because this is huge for understanding horror psychology. Sarah watches slasher films where terrible things happen to people. Why would that be enjoyable? Because her brain is in complete control of the experience. She can pause it, turn it off, look away, close her eyes during the worst parts. She's the director of her own fear. In real life, she has no control over when scary things happen. Anxiety about work, health, relationships, these fears sneak up on her with no warning and no off switch. But horror movies? She chooses when to be scared. She controls the intensity. She decides when it ends. Psychologically, this gives her brain a sense of mastery over fear. She's not avoiding fear. She's practicing controlling her response to it. And studies show that people who watch horror movies regularly actually handle real-life stress better. Their brains have practiced regulating fear responses, so when real anxiety hits, they're better equipped to manage it. Let's talk about catharsis, because this explains why horror feels satisfying. Sarah has stress from her job, her relationships, her life. Tension builds up in her body with no outlet. She can't scream at her boss, can't express anger freely, has to keep everything professional and contained. Then she watches a horror movie. Her body gets permission to release all that pent-up tension. She screams, jumps, feels her heart pound, experiences intense emotion in a safe context. Afterwards, her body feels relieved. The tension is gone. Her nervous system got to discharge all that built-up energy. This is catharsis, emotional purging through art. Horror fans aren't adding fear to their lives. They're releasing fear that's already there. Her brain uses horror movies as emotional regulation tools. It's actually psychologically healthy, not twisted. Now here's something fascinating. Horror fans have different relationships with mortality than people who avoid horror. Sarah watches movies about death constantly. Ghosts, killers, monsters, death everywhere. Why isn't this depressing? Because her brain is actually processing death anxiety in controlled doses. Psychologists call this terror management. Everyone has death anxiety buried in their subconscious. Most people avoid thinking about it. Horror fans confront it regularly through fiction. Sarah's brain gets to explore the scary reality of mortality without actually being in danger. This makes death less terrifying, not more. Studies show horror fans were actually less anxious during COVID than people who avoid horror. Why? Because their brains had already practiced confronting mortality and disaster scenarios through movies. They'd mentally rehearsed worst-case scenarios, so when real crisis hit, their brains were like, "We've processed this already, we can handle it." Let's talk about empathy, because horror fans aren't the heartless people you might think. Sarah feels deeply for the characters in horror movies. She roots for them, feels their fear, hopes they survive. When they die, she feels genuine sadness. Horror fans aren't desensitized to suffering. They're actually practicing empathy in extreme situations. Their brains are learning to connect with people experiencing terrible things. And here's what's interesting. Horror fans often have very strong moral codes. They notice when characters make dumb decisions. They understand consequences. They think about ethics and survival constantly. Horror teaches pattern recognition about danger. Sarah's brain has learned, don't split up, don't investigate strange noises, don't trust the creepy stranger. These are survival instincts wrapped in entertainment. Her brain isn't becoming cruel, it's becoming more aware of danger signals and human vulnerability. Now let's talk about curiosity about the dark side of human nature. Sarah is fascinated by serial killer documentaries, true crime podcasts, psychological thrillers about twisted minds. Does this make her disturbed? No, it makes her psychologically curious. Humans have always been fascinated by the taboo, the forbidden, the dark. Horror fans just admit this curiosity instead of suppressing it. Sarah's brain wants to understand what makes people do evil things. How do minds break? What are humans capable of in extreme situations? This isn't admiration, it's analysis. Her brain is trying to understand the full spectrum of human behavior, not just the pleasant parts. And psychologically, this makes her more prepared. Her brain has explored dark scenarios, so she's less naive about human nature. She understands danger exists and takes appropriate precautions. Let's talk about community, because horror fans find deep connection through their interest. Sarah goes to horror movie screenings where everyone screams together, discusses theories online, bonds with other fans over favorite films. Horror creates tribal belonging. When you find someone else who loves the same scary movies, there's instant connection. A feeling of, you get it, you're like me. Her brain craves this community. Finally, people who don't think she's weird for loving fear. People who understand the appeal. This social bonding around horror is psychologically meaningful. It tells her, I'm not alone in how my brain works. There are others like me. Here's something beautiful. Horror fans are actually more comfortable with their own darkness. Sarah knows she has aggressive thoughts sometimes, angry impulses, dark fantasies, and she doesn't judge herself for it. Horror gives her permission to explore those feelings safely. The monster in the movie can represent her own anger. The revenge plot can satisfy feelings she'd never act on in real life. Her brain gets to acknowledge, I contain darkness too. And that's okay, that's human. People who avoid horror often suppress these parts of themselves. Horror fans integrate them. Psychologically, that's actually healthier. Now let's address the obvious question. Are horror fans more likely to be violent? Absolutely not. Studies show zero correlation between watching horror and committing violence. In fact, horror fans are often more peaceful than average. Why? Because they have healthy outlets for processing dark emotions. Sarah watches brutal horror movies, then goes about her life as a kind, functional person. The horror satisfies something in her brain, so she doesn't need to act out. Her brain separates fiction from reality clearly. She knows movies aren't real. The violence is fantasy. This distinction is crystal clear to her. People who can't separate fiction from reality usually avoid horror because it disturbs them too much. Horror fans have stronger reality testing, not weaker. Here's what people misunderstand about horror psychology. It's not about enjoying suffering. It's about enjoying mastery over fear. Sarah doesn't watch horror because she likes seeing people hurt. She watches because she likes the feeling of surviving the fear, making it to the end, processing intense emotion, and coming out okay. Her brain experiences triumph, not cruelty, the satisfaction of facing something scary and not being destroyed by it. That's psychologically powerful. It builds confidence, resilience, emotional strength. If you love horror, which psychological reason resonates most with you? Is it control, catharsis, curiosity, or something else?